Hello, everybody in the chess world. So, beating title players is something unusual for me because I'm usually not good enough, and any title player is always like at least 300 points above me. But okay, so usually when I do beat them, they kind of help me a little bit, and this is another idea about this video. Like, you know, this thing where usually when we play a much stronger player, I've seen this thing. There is this psychological advantage, and yeah, the underdog usually, well, if they lose, they'll be some kind of like, okay, well, logically this opponent was going to beat me. So, but you'll see, everybody is human, nobody's perfect. So, well, it only takes that a bad day for them and a good day for us, and we can beat them. Well, and this first game, well, one of the cool things is that I played the Stonewall Dutch. So this is something that I had shown, in the opening survey. So it's kind of cool. So I was black here. It was the last round. This was a tournament that it was an under 2300, and this guy was the top seed. He was like 2290, while I was 19 something. As I'm always around that rating, and well, he started with a d4. I went with the Dutch Stonewall. I mean c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, g3, d5. This is actually basically the same thing as I show in the survey. But well, in here he played knight h3. This is kind of interesting because I mainly show, in my survey I mainly show knight f3. And I mentioned this knight on h3 move as another really main line, but okay, it's quite interesting. So in this particular game, I decided to play bishop on e7, which is not the typical, Stonewall Dutch move. It's much more normal to see bishop on d6. Okay, we might argue that with this knight on h3, well, this is kind of White's idea. Now they can play bishop on f4, trying to exchange the, bad bishop for my good bishop. This is nothing too great for White. This is totally playable for Black, but yeah, understandably, I tried to dodge those sort of lines, so I played bishop on e7. And well, after castles, this was the first pleasant surprise for me, because in this kind of positions I always play with white b3, and I think this is the best move. It's kind of what I was expecting. But in this game he played queen on b3 instead, and I'm not sure this is a bad move, but I already felt kind of good because I answered with knight bd7, and my idea is simply to put this knight into b6 and pressure this pawn that now cannot be defended by b3. So my opponent playing knight on f4. I mean, it's of course hitting this pawn right here, but with knight on b6, I protect that pawn and put the pressure on c4. And well, he advanced, and I got in this c4 square. He played queen c2, and yes, okay, now White is ready to play b3, but the thing is, e5. Yeah, the central pawn break comes, and he had to take it. And after pawn takes and knight takes, well, this is a beautiful opening result for me. Black has equalized on move 12, so it was quite cool. Again, this was I think my opponent had a bad day, but this was a really strong opponent. I mean, he was almost 2300 here. I don't remember if he was an FM or an IM, but nowadays he's just a GM. I think he's 2500. Really strong player. And well, in this moment, he played the correct move. The best plan for White now is probably to put this bad bishop on d4 and then close it up with e3. So he started by bishop on e3. I'm sure this is the best move. I put my knight on the good outpost there, and he played bishop on d4. So in here, I will say that this was a first moment in which I showed that I was having a good tournament, playing a little bit better than my usual so-so chess. And because, for example, here it seems like the most natural move will be bishop on f6, but I think this has to be at least a dubious move, because after knight on h5, I mean, they're hitting the defender of the knight on e5, and it looks like I'm just going to lose the pair of bishops. So Queen c7 is much better for that reason, but also because ultimately what I want to do is, yeah, to put my bishop on f6 and then put my queen on f7. And meanwhile, this queen is protecting the knight. So to understand this concept that I'm just explaining, let us just see the following, two moves. It's really simple if you look at it. My opponent played b4, which is a good move. I mean, white should be looking for the b5 pawn break. And only now I play bishop on f6, because the difference is that if now white plays knight on h5, well, at least, at minimum, I can just go away with bishop on e7, and my knight on e5 is still protected. So, yeah, I'm sure my bishop is better on f6 than on e7, but on my bishop on e7 is still fine. While this knight on h5, well, the only thing that this knight was doing was just trying to capture on f6, so it's clearly much worse on h5 than on f4. So, in fact, after bishop on f6, maybe because of that reason, my opponent played rook f d1, and now queen on f7. So now I've, effectively prevented any knight on h5. So now I am ready to, make my pawn break, this g5, which is also a typical thing on the Dutch Stonewall. We want to, make this pawn storm on the king side and, attack white's king. So far so good. The game is probably a balance. I'm not sure who's better in here according to the computers. But okay, my opponent played b5. I mean, it's already time. Correct pawn break on the queen side. And of course, I went g5. So again, now there is no knight on h5. Knight on d3 is obviously the answer. And that's what my opponent played. So here, once again, I think I played a good move. I mean, it's an obvious move. My knight on e5 is hit in here. And of course, I do not want to exchange it for this knight and, leaving this pawn attacking my good knight. I play knight g4, which, again, I understand that this is a pretty obvious move, but I still think it's a pretty decent move because, well, it was easy to get tempted by knight on f3 check, followed by bishop takes bishop. This is something that I think is an attractive move, and it's probably not the best move. I honestly don't remember what I had calculated. I mean, this game was played like, I don't know, more than 10 years ago. But checking it with the computer showed me some pretty interesting lines. So in this line, white will take, the knight, and after bishop takes, well, you can see black's idea. We just made an equal exchange of pieces, minor piece for a minor piece. And if white takes the knight, I will take it with the f-pawn. So the idea is, well, I'm a piece down, but I'm removing the defender of f2. But the thing is, this was still playable for white. I'm pretty sure I did not see during the game, but this is better for white. However, there's this difficult to see computer line, So the idea is knight b4 is the precise move here for white, and well, you can see pretty quickly that taking on f2 with the bishop, I mean, that will just receive king on h1. I mean, white is now ready to go rook on f1 and pin that piece. So, but quite attractive will be to take it with the queen, because, although we are exchanging queens, after this check and king on h1, bishop takes e5. So now I have 3 pawns for a minor piece, and I'm hitting the knight. So this initially looks really good for me, but look at what the computer, showed me. Just knight takes on c6. It's quite a nice concept, this, because after pawn takes and pawn takes, well, the computer here was giving a clear advantage for white, and I gotta be honest, I totally agree without even going further with the lines. I mean, my pawn center of pawns, this is just falling. D5 is falling, and then e4 is going to fall. While, well, there is this beautiful c6 pass pawn. I mean, all of this was really hard to see. I'm sure I did not see this during the game, but quite interesting. But okay, let us just go back. And again, in this position, after knight on d3, let me take out colors and arrows. So I did play knight on g4. And this is forcing the solid move, obvious solid move for my opponent, which he played. This is e3, and this is fine. And now, well, I think that what I play right now is not the recommendation by the computer, but I was so sure during the game that this was the correct line. And again, I don't think I don't think that what I play is actually bad. It's probably just not the best according to the computer. And again, to me, it was clear concept. Like, I took the bishop, which initially, okay, yes, I'm giving up my good bishop for white's bad bishop and giving him a cool d4 pawn. And I even took on c3. So initially you might think, well, what, are you crazy? And now you just gave your beautiful centralized, knight, which had a great outpost. But the thing is, now I even deviated the queen from the defense of the square on f2, which was something that I wanted clearly to make. And the other thing is, now I can attack with f4. This is what I play, f4. So if we go back before the exchanges, yeah, they might look like not so good exchanges, but I cannot play f4 right now. So I was quite happy during the game. And also because of a particular tactical sequence that I had foreseen, and that it actually happened in the game. Because my opponent played h3, and I played the move that I had calculated, just f takes g3. I think this is a good move, clearly. And I'm sure my opponent saw this as well, and he was being brave. He was like, okay, bring it on, it's interesting, but let us play this chaotic tactical sequence. So he took the knight. I mean, he has to, of course, show something for my attack. And in this moment, I made an awful move. And this is quite funny. This is psychology, in a last round of a tournament game, Because obviously what I had foreseen before was just to play g takes f2 check, king f1, and, well, probably bishop takes g4 now. And I think even computers, at least initially, they give this position as roughly balanced. I don't remember what was in my calculations, but in here, I stopped to think, because I was like, all right, I'm not going to blitz out the move that I had foreseen. But unfortunately for me, that was the best move. I tried to be ambitious, and I don't know what I calculated, but I actually played bishop takes g4. I was trying to be clever. This is a double question mark move, because now white should be winning. It's still not easy, clearly. So, well, I'm sure my opponent was happy, because after rook d2, he's able to support, sustain that f2 spot. And I played rook a e8. This was my idea with bishop takes on g4. I just wanted to have all of my pieces in the attack. And curiously, well, as I said before, my opponent helped me. And in this moment, he made a double question mark move himself. I think the computer was giving us, best moves for white, like queen on b2. I think computer was giving decisive advantage for white, like, okay, they took the extra piece and the attack is not going to work. And even while actually f takes g3, the computer says you can play that and white should be winning. For example, okay, rook e3 is now allowed, but I don't know, rook f1 and he's still a little bit complex, but this should be totally winning for white. But my opponent played instead knight on e5, which, well, looks like an attractive move, trying to exchange pieces and make the things simpler. But, well, this is a double question mark move. In fact, after this move, black is winning. Now I am winning. So I took on f2 with check, king on f1. And now the key move. There's only one winning move here, so, well, I'll ask you to pause the video and think. So, okay, that move was a queen on f4. This is the invasion of the queen. I think my opponent, we had a brief postmortem after the game, and he told me that he actually had missed this queen on f4. And, well, now black is objectively winning, but my opponent played rook b1, which is a move that doesn't offer any resistance. I'll just show you a few alternatives that the computer engines show me. These are impossible to calculate, but I'll show them anyway because they're pretty much fun. Queen b2 and queen c2 were the moves recommended by the computer. black should be still winning, but it's not easy. I mean, queen b2, for example, computer says that I would have to find really difficult moves. Rook takes e5. It is the clearly winning move here, because after d takes, queen c4 check, well, it's gonna force the only response, rook on e2. Now bishop takes on e2 check might be winning, but bishop on f3 was the computer's point. And here computer was given like, yeah, bishop takes, rook takes. Queen on h4 is a threat that is too strong. This should be winning for black. But the other line that was totally crazy was queen on c2. And in here, rook takes e5 is not the recommendation by the computer. Queen h2, and after rook takes f2, bishop on h3. I mean, really, I think I should probably leave the engines to think for at least 10 minutes. So I'm sure there are other ways for black. But I don't know, I wanted to show you this line because it is so crazy. You know, look at this. This is the continuation that computer was giving me. So bishop takes, queen takes with the check, on h3 with check, king on g1, queen g3 check, rook g2, queen e3 check, and we're intending then to, well, take the pawn on d4, then we'll be hitting the knight and the rook, booking on h1, queen takes pawn, even allowing rook takes g5 check, king on h8. It looks like it's over now, right? But knight g6 check, pawn takes and queen on h2 check, king g7, rook takes g6 check. I mean, really, I was looking at this with the computer and I was like, really, come on, who do you think I am? You know, I can't see all of this stuff. And even crazier is the fact that after king takes and rook g1 check, computer was telling me that the only absolutely winning line for black is that after taking on g1 and queen takes, only king on f5 gets me a clearly winning advantage. I don't understand any of this. Even this ending to me is really complex. But apparently, according to the computer, other king retreats, such as, I don't know, king on f7, were not quite winning. So I don't know. It's really crazy. And going back to the game, as I said, he played rook on b1, and this offers no resistance because, yeah, queen on h2 is the clear idea behind this queen on f4. And now, well, of course, the threat is just this queen on g1 checkmate. So after a few minutes, I mean, realizing that he was lost, he actually took the pawn. But after, I mean, I quickly played this I had calculated, rook takes, king takes, and rook on f8 check. And here my opponent resigned. So, okay, I mean, it's really easy to see why. I mean, after the rook takes, okay, you're not going to go away with the king. I can just take that free bishop, and looks like this is going to be checkmate pretty soon. And if, well, the key is, of course, if knight on f3, I was just going to take on f3 with check. This is the thing, the bishop on g2 spin. And this is a really easy position to win. So, well, as you saw, definitely my opponent helped me. I mean, from this position, we actually shared double question mark moves, you know, for one another, because I should have gone for my first gut feeling and what I had calculated before. You know, this is what happens always in chess. How many times we blitz out a move that just because we had already calculated that. So we try to learn the lesson for the next game. Okay, next time, even if I already calculated something, I should take my time. Well, in this game I did it, and it turned out it was counterproducing because, yeah, it was much better move. This is double question mark. But after here, well, he returned the favor by knight on e5, and I must say that the position was really chaotic and complex. So again, I don't know, I would say another positive thing for the Dutch, you know, the Stonewall Dutch. It does give us this position of going for a clear attack, and yeah, it's even possible to beat the players that are much better than ourselves. So, okay, I'll show you another game next time in which, yeah, again, I'll beat an opponent that was much stronger. But again, the other idea, the other feeling that I wanted to leave to you all is, hey, no matter how much stronger your opponent is than yourself, you always have the chance to either draw or even win the game. So I'll leave, as usual, my cat Citroneta to ask you to like, comment, share, and subscribe in case you like the video. And thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.